Hi, so today I finished the first book in the From Blood and Ash series, which is From Blood and Ash. And it is dark and I'm sitting outside with a very bright light on me. So, me and Jody, we started this channel, or trying to start it currently. We've had a lot of hiccups, just from watching the ideas that we had originally kind of not look great on film, and then I've flown back and forth this year. I think the biggest issue getting this off the ground is that we live in two different states. So I'm in Northern California, she's in Las Vegas. So I have flown down to see her 3 times in the last 6 weeks, and filmed. And then we just found out that one of my trips, where we filmed actually the most that we've ever filmed, I think we filmed 6 full episodes and 4 shorts, and all of them, the audio was broken, like in and out. We can't use any of it. So there's been quite a few hiccups. And so we realized that it's not manageable to keep traveling like this every couple weeks. And we're going to start doing some of these things separately, even though we're reading together. So I think, for the main episodes, we're still going to be together, but maybe sometimes it'll be like on Zoom kind of thing. And she is currently reading From Blood and Ash, and I think she started today and I finished it today. And so because of that, I have no one to talk to about it because I don't want to spoil anything for her, and I am waiting for her to finish it. But Jody and I have very different reading habits. Anytime I'm reading a book, she's reading 3, and I think the whole time we were reading Powerless together, she was reading the tandem read from Throne of Glass, so she's like a much different reader than me. I can't focus like that. And so I'll get through like our joint reads usually first, and then wait to talk about it. But today I couldn't wait to talk about this book because I have had many books I've loved recently. This year I think I've read 14 books already, and I've really liked all of them. I think this was my favorite, and it starts really interesting to me. Like the first couple chapters already are really interesting to me, but it does lull for me. And so I was worried for a little bit that it was going to be boring. But the last third of this book is some of the coolest, craziest, twistiest stuff. I am sure a lot of people saw 1 or 2 of the twists coming. There was a lot that I did not see coming, and I couldn't put it down. I read 7 hours today straight, I think, and finished it. And I'm obsessed with it. I have all of the books, so I moved straight along to the second book in the series. But before I forget, and I think that was another hiccup that me and Jody happened to come across, right, is that we'll read a book and then we won't be able to get together to film it for a month. By then we've read 5 other books, and we'll be like kind of lost with where the plot was, especially if it's like a series and we're like, what book did that happen in this series? So I really wanted to get my thoughts out immediately because I love this book so much. So, spoilers, and yeah, there's spoilers in this, and I know I'm going to do a joint one with Jody, but I need to get this off my chest, okay? So if you have read this book, did you see this coming with Hawke? I thought about it for a second, but then as the book went on, it didn't make sense that he would be Castile just because of the way he talked about him, and like, he didn't seem to be doing anything shady that I noticed until we're at the end, right? And we're at the right ceremony. And the way that the Duke was murdered, to me, was very clearly Hawke. And what I had assumed had happened was that he had overheard her talking in the garden right after they had that scene under the willow. And she was talking to Victor and talking about what the Duke did to her because she had refused to tell Hawke about it, right? I think he overheard it. And that's what I had thought happened, right? And he murdered him with the cane that he was beating her with. But then it comes to like think about that. It seems like his body was hanging there the whole time, so he must have found out about that before. But still, murdering for her in that way was pretty awesome. And he's like probably the darkest MMC that I have read, where he's not like a hero. He's not a good guy, but you love him. And like, at the end, when all those people who have hurt her are hanging dead on the wall, Jericho's hanging on to his life, being tortured, and he's just murdered everybody for her. And we've seen him, murder innocent people. like her old guard just so that he could get closer to her. So he is not like a perfect person. And that's when I realized that I have a really dark and twisted interest in my book people, because I like this. It's so different than like the Rhysand, who you like, okay, you think he's a baddie, but he's not at all. Like, he's super hero. This guy's not a hero at all. And I still root for him. I root for him. When she stabbed him in the heart, I was mad at her. Super mad at her, and I'm really glad that he lived, and I assumed that there was going to be some way he lived, because there's a lot more books. But I was pissed at her, and it's like, really, she's reacting in a way that makes sense. Like, this is who she has been taught her whole life is, like, the devil, essentially. And she's kind of unraveling that her whole life has been a lie, and that she's on the wrong side of things, which is awesome, because now, she's not going to ascend. Or I don't know how that's going to pan out, like how they're going to get away. And I guess they're going back to his home, and you find out that she's part immortal, which is bonkers too. The whole end of this book is just like one thing after another. It's crazy. The information dump is crazy. And I think in the beginning there was so much world building and so much character development, which was so necessary for the ending to be so impactful. But it was just, there were parts that were like a little dragging on for me. But now that I finished the book, I'm really glad that they were there, because it gives you a chance to care more deeply about some of the people who die, especially. And yeah, Victor's death was awful. I hated Victor's death. And yeah, the entire book, I loved it so much. I know it's highly rated on Goodreads, but I've seen some people who hate this book on like Book Talk and on Bookstagram and BookTube and on all of them, who have been totally shitting on this book. So for the people who have read it, and it's funny because I posted that I was going to read it, and I had like 5 people reach out and be like, oh, I read it. Let me know how you feel, but they didn't say how they felt. So I am interested to see if everyone loved it as much as I did, because I'm obsessed.